All right, what is going on, NFL Nation? Welcome back to the JDW Sports Network. This is Jason. I'll be hosting Hot Take Tuesday. I believe this is this is episode 5 of season 4. So we're getting ready to kick it off. Have a couple of hot takes for you guys here today. A couple of Colts ones, quite a few. We do have some Colts guys, quite a few Colts fans in the Discord, and then we have an Eagles. No, we have a Seahawks one. Talk about the Texans a little bit, and then a Thursday night football between the Broncos and the Bengals tonight. So let's not waste so much more time. I know it's Thursday. It just wasn't able to get it out on Tuesday. We're just gonna roll with it, pretend it's Tuesday, take it, okay? So the first hot take is from DJ Be Cool. He says that Jonathan Taylor will have at least 100 rushing yards versus the Chargers. So Chargers rushing defense numbers. They are currently ranked 21st in rushing defense in terms of yards allowed per game. They've allowed 124 yards per game throughout the entire season, throughout the 6 games, and the first three, the last 3 games, they've allowed an average of 153.7 rush yards. Now, it was better in the first couple of games because they were pretty much healthy. It was pretty much difficult to do anything against that Chargers defense the first couple of weeks. They were fully healthy, playing well. Jesse Minter had them playing pretty much how he expected them to, that people expected them to. Then you had a couple of injuries. You had Khalil Mack go down for a little while. Deshaun Hand went down. You had Denzel Perryman went down. You had quite a few people that went down. So that makes it difficult. Of course, you're going to lose a couple of guys, a couple of starters, a couple of really good players. You're going to have a dip in production or, the defense and whatever aspect that they were contributing to. You're going to have a dip when you have that many players go down. Good players, too, at that. Really good players. So, Hand won't be coming back. Khalil Mack will be back for this game. Denzel Perryman should be back for this game. So the Chargers are starting to get a little healthier. It's looking like Quentin Johnson. There's a good chance he plays this game. Maybe not. Troy Dye looking like he's questionable. He didn't participate in Wednesday's practice, but there is a chance he plays. Derwin James is actually questionable, so that could make a big difference in passing defense and rushing defense. He's phenomenal in both. But the Colts. So let's talk about the Colts. I mean, Jonathan Taylor has been one of the best backs in the league. He leads the NFL in rushing yards. He leads the NFL in pretty much, he has 603 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. He's pretty much just had his way. The Colts and Jonathan Taylor have had their way against anyone that they played in the ground practically for the most part. The Raiders, no. So most recent game against the Cardinals, he had 123 rush yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 1 rushing touchdown. Versus the Rams, 76 rushing yards. Now, they really didn't run the ball much the first half. The second half is when they really ran the ball a lot compared to the first half, and 4.5 yards per carry there. No touchdowns. But versus the Broncos, which is a number 6 ranked run defense right now, 165 rushing yards, 6.6 yards per carry. The Colts pretty much did what they wanted. The Texans' defensive line, or the Broncos' defensive line, is really impressive. It's probably the best in the league. Atlanta is probably up there. They get a ton of pressure as well. A couple really good defense lines. Seattle's defense line is really good. But then, the Raiders surprisingly had the 10th best rushing defense, and the Colts ran for 96 total yards. Jonathan Taylor ran for 3 rushing touchdowns. So, with the Chargers getting a couple guys back, it's definitely going to give a boost. It's not going to be as bad as at 21st ranked, or they're not going to be allowing 153 yards per game. And Jesse Minter, when healthy, even with a couple of injuries, I still think this defense has been playing well for the situations that they were given. But you're playing a really good offensive line this week against the Colts. You've allowed 153 rushing yards per game or 153.7 rushing yards in the last 3 games total, but they are getting a little healthy. So I'm going to say that John Taylor has a good chance of reaching 100 yards in this game. So I'm going to say that this hot take is cool. Cool meaning there's a good chance that happens. There's, maybe it's not a great chance because, this could be a game where, they're firing back and forth. I really don't think it would be in the Colts' best interest to get into a shootout because the Chargers defense is just really good. I know they're not the healthiest right now, but they're still really well coached or disciplined. They keep everything in front of them. They're going to make you drive down that field. So I think that this Chargers defense is better than what you think. And if the Colts get into a shootout, you don't really want to be passing the ball too much. Daniel Jones has made a couple mistakes the last couple weeks versus the Rams. Fortunately, he didn't have 3 interceptions. Versus the Cardinals, he was fortunate he didn't have 2 because Budda Baker completely just dropped one. So I feel like versus the better defenses, Daniel Jones definitely is a little more turnover prone, interception prone. So I'm not too sure about wanting to pass. But I mean, Daniel Jones for the most part, he's been good taking care of the football. He has had a couple of games here and there where he's put the ball in harm's way quite a bit. But I think that also helps Jonathan Taylor with the way the Colts, passing offense has been. You may be without Josh Downs, who's going to hurt the passing game a little bit. Chargers may be able to focus on the run game a little bit, but the Colts should run for 100 plus, or Jonathan Taylor especially should run for 100 plus because the Chargers have struggled with tackling at times, even though that is a pretty not really necessarily tackling, just like allowing yards after contact. They're like 26th, I believe. So that will need to be worked on. John Taylor is strong. He's fast. So if that's not fixed really quickly, will allow a lot of yards. But Jonathan Taylor going to go for over 100. Colts offense line is going to get it going. I still think the Colts are going to keep with the run game, even if there's a lot of scoring, because you want to keep Justin Herbert off the field as much as you possibly can, especially when you're likely going to be without your top corner in Charvarius Ward. But 100 rushing yards is very much possible. I could see it. So next, you have the next hot take is actually pretty similar. So I could kind of double them up as one, just like two different little topics here. Not really little, some stuff to talk about. But Jonathan Taylor wins Offensive Player of the Year. Straight up, I'm going to say warm right away and say it's a little unlikely. It's not because Jonathan Taylor isn't capable of winning it. I think it's pretty obvious that he is capable of winning this award. The issue is there's a lot of competition right now. And if you look at the competition, it goes to Bijan Robinson, Puka Nacua, JSN, probably throw Amon-Ra St. Brown in there. Now, I think JT would definitely be over Amon-Ra. The other three, I am not too sure. With Bijan and JT, it's kind of like a coin flip right now. Bijan Robinson has 484 yards on the ground, may only see 2 rushing touchdowns, but he's got 338 receiving yards and 24 receptions so far, and receiving touchdown. No, maybe the touchdowns aren't there compared to JT, but the threat that he's offering in the passing game and the rushing game, pretty incredible. Now, I do say JT would be ahead right now because of the amount of touchdowns he has, and the amount, John Taylor does have 100 and I thought I had it written down here, but he has 147 receiving yards, so it's nothing to scoff at. Like, he is nothing, but compared to Bijan's 338, that's a pretty big discrepancy. I would say JT is still ahead of Bijan. Puka, I would say he's behind Puka and JSN. I think JSN is number 1. I think Puka is 2, and JT is 3. As much as I want to say, as a Colts fan, that Jonathan Taylor is number 1, I don't think he is. I think the season that JSN is having, I don't think you could ignore it. JSN is... We're going to talk about JSN more in a couple minutes here, but JSN has been one of the best receivers. I'll say he's probably the best or second best receiver in the league so far. Is probably Puka 1A and JSN 1B, 1 or 1A, however the heck you want to say it. 1A, 1B. JSN has been absolutely incredible. He leads the league in receiving yards by quite a bit. He has a couple touchdowns, 30 first down receptions. So JSN is definitely number 1 in my opinion. I think Puka maybe 2. He has 33 first down catches, 92.7 PFF grade, 616. I can't read this. I scribbled something out, but he has 616 receiving yards. I can't see how many touchdowns, but I know that he's got a decent amount. It's just a matter of fact that Puka could stay healthy. Then Puka is, there's a good chance that he wins it. But if JSN continues on this rate, probably not. And that doesn't bode well for JT either. And Bijan's probably number 4, but the margin, the separation between JT and Bijan is probably like a sliver. There's not much separation at all. I would even say maybe you could throw a Mecca in there. I know he's going to be in there for Offensive Rookie of the Year, but the way that he's playing, I would see him being a possible player too. If he gets stay healthy, keep playing the way he has been, he could be a legit contender in that race. CMC is another one. He has a like 300 rushing yards, 300 receiving yards. He's playing absolutely incredible. Um, 444 receiving yards Christian McCaffrey has. He has 336 rushing yards and a couple touchdowns, like 4 touchdowns. I believe it was 3 receiving and 1 rushing. Just absolutely absurd. So I'm only saying warm because of the competition there. And the Colts are going to be running into some stiff competition coming down the stretch here. They have really tough strength of schedule. So they're playing the Steelers, Chargers obviously this week. Niners, we'll see how healthy they are at the time, but Nick Bosa and Fred Warner won't be there. You have Seattle, that's going to be tough. Jacksonville's going to be tough. Atlanta's going to be tough. Houston twice, that's going to be tough. And the Chiefs twice, that's going to be tough. So that's a tough schedule. You know, then you look at like a Seahawks schedule. Let's see what the Seahawks are here. They're 10th. Seahawks play. You know, it kind of doesn't even matter at this point because JSN has just been absolutely incredible. He's played some good corners too. I mean, Will Johnson has been absolutely incredible his rookie year. We'll get more to JSN in a couple minutes. I don't want to take up too much of the time talking about JSN in this one. We have a hot take primarily dedicated to JSN, but I'm gonna go warm. I'm actually gonna go. I'll stay warm and say it's a little unlikely. I'm not gonna say hot. Say like, okay, yeah, it's pretty very much unlikely. But the way he's playing, it's likable. It's unlikely just because of the competition. He's capable, but the competition is really strong for this award this year. So a lot of different players in. Now we'll see as the season goes on. We'll probably weed through some of them, but all these players at the top here are pretty damn good. JT, Puka, Bijan, JSM. I don't think there's really weeding through any of them. Amon-Ra. They're up here in this award for a reason. They're up there. They have the best odds for a reason. Even though some odds are wonky, these ones are pretty solid in my opinion. But all right, let's move on to the next one. Good couple of hot takes to start us off. Now, here we go. JSN becomes a top 5 receiver by the end of the year. I'm going ice. I'm going ice cold. Like I don't even really think this is a question because, I mean, is he not number 1 or number 2 already this year so far? Like I just said, it's like JSN 1A, Puka 1B, or 1A, however the heck you want to say it. I don't give a shit. Nonetheless, JSN has been the most dominant receiver so far this year. Let's just call it out. Let's just be honest. I mean, he has almost 700 receiving yards, right? All right, here we go. I had to flip through my notes here. Flip to the next page. We have, so in 6 games, Jackson Smith-Njigba has 696 receiving yards. It's next, the next closest is Puka Nacua at 525. And he is second. And then the next one just is, wait, hold on. Okay, so yeah, I just had to double check my notes. I was reading in the wrong spot. So Puka is the second closest with 616. And then after that, it's Pickens at 525 receiving yards. So that just shows you how dominant Jackson Smith-Njigba is. Everyone's talking about Puka and how great he's been. But Jackson Smith-Njigba, man, I mean, holy heck, he has 3 receiving touchdowns, 30 first down catches. I mean, was it 16.6 yards per reception over 42 receptions? It's absolutely absurd. He is, 12 less receptions than Puka Nacua? And yet he's got, like, almost 100, receiving yards more? It's completely insane. He's got 42 receptions, like I mentioned. Tied 5th with Jamar Chase. He is 16.6 yards per reception, 8th. 3 receiving touchdowns, 30 receiving first downs, only second to, guess who, Puka Nacua. 91.4 overall PFF grade, a 91.5 receiving grade, which is 3rd. And currently, 137.3 pass rating when targeted. What else do I need to tell you here? What else do I need to say? And he plays on the outside, plays in the slot just a little bit. Wasn't JSN that receiver coming out? A lot of people were saying he's probably only going to play receiver. Well, or play slot receiver. Yeah, that's kind of odd. But And you look at his matchups throughout the first couple of weeks. He played San Fran, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Arizona, and Jacksonville. Except for New Orleans, and with Arizona's Will Johnson, Max Melton, the way those two young cornerbacks are playing, those are some pretty damn good defenses. And look how many yards he's got. It's absolutely absurd. Look at his production. Third down, the big time play versus Jacksonville. That big, massive play, gave him that big touchdown. And that big touchdown is where, that big touchdown was the one score win they got. Even though the touchdown was early on, still, those points were there because of him. So, other receivers in 2025, right? You have a Mecca who's been playing absolutely incredible, but I wouldn't say he's better than JSN right now, just because JSN is wild. But Mecca, for being a rookie and playing the way he has been playing, absolutely freaking insane. But you have, I would say, Puka and JSN, 1A, 1B. You could switch them around. I don't care where you put them. I think either one is fair. Don't care. I would say number 3 is probably Drake London. 4 is Chase. 5 is Emeka. 6 is Monra. 7 Jefferson. Oh no, I forgot Pickens in there in my list. Sorry, Cowboys fan, but Pickens would definitely be up there. Not like, I don't know about. I mean, just this season alone, I'd say top 5. Look at the amount of touchdowns he's got and such. I mean, he's playing absolutely incredible. But nonetheless, point stands. JSN is a top 5 receiver currently. He is currently a top 3, top 2, even top 1. I would not be mad at anyone saying that he's the best receiver in the league right now. I mean, dude's a demon. Dude is absolutely insane. But we'll move on to the next one. Head of the table. So he says the Texans will get hot, and the final game between the Colts will be for the division. So another half Colts take here, because we're talking about Texans and Colts in the AFC South. So let me flip to my notes here. I got my notes here someplace. I got them all over the place. Had to move them around because I wanted to keep those 2 Colts ones together. The 2 Jonathan Taylor ones together. Kind of felt like it would have been just clunky to talk about him once and then again later in the video. So here we go. So currently the Indianapolis Colts are 5-1. Texans are 2-3. Both are 1-0 in the division. No, Texans are actually 1-1 in the division. Colts are 1-0. The remaining schedule, the Colts have, I believe, the 5th or this. I just had this pulled up. Okay, let's see. The Colts had the 5th hardest remaining strength of schedule, and Texans had the 4th. So both teams have a pretty difficult road to potentially get in and win the division. Jacksonville is the 23rd, so that could be an interesting. You could potentially see Jacksonville winning it. Maybe they could sneak in there if they can find. If Trevor Lawrence can be consistent, I could see the Jaguars winning it. They're 4-2 coming out of the probably the toughest stretch of their schedule. So, like I was saying, Colts are currently 5-1. Texans are 2-3. So let's go through these teams and let me give you my prediction for who they beat and who they don't. So I say the Colts and Texans. No, let's just start with the Colts. Colts gonna split with the Texans, split with Jacksonville. You have Tennessee again. You should beat Tennessee again. I say you lose to the Chargers this weekend. You beat the Steelers. You beat the Niners. You lose to Atlanta. Lose to KC, and you probably lose to Seattle, which is a really difficult schedule to go through the end stretch here. But I could see the Colts potentially winning in Atlanta if Atlanta has a rough day. Potentially beating the Chargers here. That is another one that they could win. Right now, my prediction is 11-6, and at this point, they would have beaten the Texans, Jaguars once, the Titans twice. So they would be 4-2 in the division. Okay, not bad. And then my prediction is 11-6. Now their floor is 8-9, ceiling is 13-4. Truly, that's a ceiling. If they could play clean football in those tough games, we'll have to see if they can do it though. But the Texans currently sitting at 2-3. I have their floor at 6-11 because of how tough the schedule is, and just the way that this Texans team was to begin the year. You know, granted, they've had some incredible weeks. Last 2 weeks, you know, they dominated the fourth quarter against the Titans. Seemed like they figured something out there, and they continued that success versus Baltimore for a full game. What was it? 44-10. The offense was clicking on all cylinders, but these are tough matchups, except for the Colts. Like the Colts look like have been a good team, but I feel like that's a really bad matchup for the Colts because their defense is struggling and their offense is really good, but the Texans' defense has proven that they can slow down anyone's offense pretty much at this point. So the Texans, they play the Jaguars and the Titans once, and they still have yet to play the Colts once, so they had to play the Colts twice. I say the split with Indy. They beat them once. They beat Jacksonville the second time around. They should beat Tennessee the second time around. I say they beat Buffalo. They beat the Chargers. They could beat the Broncos, the Niners, and the Cardinals. So hold on. Give me a second. So my prediction is 9-8. I say that they'll drop either the Denver game or maybe the Chargers game. I can see them dropping one of those two games. Maybe Buffalo, they catch fire, they figure it out. But I have them losing the Seahawks here. Maybe they beat the Seahawks, could flip flop it. But my prediction is 9-8, and I say their ceiling is 10-7. So it's funny because I have the Colts prediction at 11-6 and Texans at 9-8. So this could absolutely be for the division at the end of the year. It wouldn't shock me one bit because the Colts schedule is tough. The Texans schedule is tough. Both schedules are very tough. But with the Colts having a 3.5 game lead already, a 3-game lead already. It's a big lead. It's still early though. It's still early. So, and we'll have to see how the Colts do when they go into that tough schedule. Because I'm genuinely interested to see how they fare when they play some of those better teams. When they play the Falcons, the Chiefs, the Seahawks, the Chargers this week. We'll see. Houston twice, Jacksonville twice. We'll see. But I'm going to say, the odds of this game being for the division, I say the Texans will get hot, so check on that. And I say that last game, will it be for the division? Will it be for the division? I'm going to say yeah. I think the Texans get hot, and I say the Colts drop a few against some of those really tough teams. KC, I don't even know if I said KC. But yeah, I can absolutely see. So I'm actually going to go cool and say that this is likely. But the Texans offense is going to have to, show that they can do it against some of the better defenses and continue to show that they can do it against the better defenses. Like, the Jaguars defense is really good. You have the Broncos defense, the Chargers when fully healthy, if they play a healthy Chargers defense. Niners defense, at one point, even though they're still very well coached, they still have a lot of talent, they could still be better defense, maybe not great. Seattle's a good defense. Arizona's a better defense than people would think. KC's defense, will see what they are by then. So this Texans offense is really going to be the dictator. It seems like CJ Stroud is stepping back into his, getting back into his groove or something, getting back into his rhythm. So we'll see, but I say there's a good chance. So I'm saying cool and saying that it's likely, but we got to see more from the Texans offense, and I got to see the Colts. Kind of got to see things from both teams. Even though the Colts are 1-5, they got to prove that they can consistently beat some of the better teams out here because they have, they struggle versus the Cardinals. You could say that field goal block, that field goal flag was interesting, but they found a way. And you can still, I guess you can kind of say they paid for it in the Rams game with the 80 Mitchell fumble. I guess you could say that they kind of paid for it, but I say cool. It's possible. Last hot take. Yeah, Tones. Bengals and Steelers combined for 82 points on Thursday Night Football. I say absolutely not. I just can't see it. I know I have my notes here because I didn't really have too much to say for this one because I just really didn't think that this would happen at all. I'm going piping hot with this one. It's a short week for both teams. It's an AFC North matchup. They're always close. They're always dogfights. Steelers defense is pretty good, and then their offense has been on and off, but it feels like both sides of the ball are kind of starting to click for the Steelers. So should play good defense. Should play. I mean, if the Steelers freaking score 50 plus points, and then yeah, see, and then the Bengals would still have to score like 30. So I just don't see that happening. Both teams will have to score at least 40 if they're be even, if we're to be close. And I just don't see it without Burrow. You have Flacco. He gave you some spark towards the end of the Packers game. And the Steelers like to run the football when they get up. They're going to want to salt the game away and get out of there. They want to play physical football. That's their brand. That's all I got for you guys. This one's piping hot. Not gonna spend too much time on this one, but it's just a matter of fact of what I all said there. Let's see if I miss anything on my notes. It's North matchup. Steelers defense is getting better every week, and the run game is getting better, and they're getting better at stopping the run. So that's going to shorten the game. Like I said, no Burrow. That's all I got. That's all I got. But appreciate you guys stopping by. It was a good little Hot Take Tuesday episode, talking a lot about the Colts, a little bit about JSN and the top receivers in the league, top offensive players in the league. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is Jason. Thank you for joining me today on Hot Take Tuesday. Well, it's typically Thursday, a couple days late, but we're here. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.